Alright, class, so let's start with the first group. Miguel, Diana, Garrett, and Brian, and Selena. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and dive in and just take a look at some of the work that was produced. So far, looking great for this week, right? So let's go ahead and start. So we're going to start with Miguel's work, which is the Serpent racing systems. I like where this is going so far in terms of how the concept of the race car systems is overlapping and weaving through the snake's body, and I think this works nicely, almost like a conveyor belt type of series of machines working together. So I think overall the concept is very strong. One thing that I would definitely want to bring to your attention, Miguel, is when you zoom out really far out, how well does this logo work? And also take a look at some of those details that you're losing from far away. So see if there's something that you can do while you're looking at this as a complete form, if whether or not you even need those types of details here, or whether or not they need to be filled in as opposed to outlines, because as I zoom out, those outlines disappear. So just make sure that you're a little bit more aware of that. And also take a look at your line quality as you're zooming out. And I think you can use a little bit more thickness to some of those weighted lines that you have here. I think those are nice and thick, but I think they can go even thicker when you want to balance things out with this stroke right here. That can use a little bit more thickness, because right now I think it's a little too faint. And I honestly think with Serpent racing systems, your overall logo can look a little bit more aggressive, because right now I'm finding that the overall quality of the drawing seems to be a little bit kind of like a neutral feel versus something that says Serpent Racing System. So I'd like a little bit more boldness in this drawing. So maybe have another pass at how this was drawn and take a look at the weight of your line and maybe kind of bulk things up a little bit and just make things bolder, especially with the line quality where you're getting a little too thin in certain areas. Another thing I want to bring to your attention is the typography in relation to your overall logo. It is a little too small, especially when I zoom out, it really disappears. So I'm wondering if whether or not you might think about stacking your type. And what I mean by stacking the type is basically like this. Basically taking apart your logo and seeing if it would work better if you were to stack your type in a way that helps the reader see more of the image and type in a more balanced way. Now keep in mind that you can do something like that, but you can also bring your type next to your logo like so. So if I were to take a look at your logo like so, I might want to experiment more with where this type is being placed. Is it off to the side? Is it off or off center, off to the bottom like that? Or is it just something like this where it's more along the lines of this curve of the snake? So you might want to play around with the placement of the type and see whether or not that relationship works better. I honestly think just by stacking your type and making your type a little bit bigger, that just looks a lot better and it reads more clearly, right? So really think about the placement of your type and say to yourself, whether or not you might need color to make things a little bit more prominent. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So Cat Cafe. Excuse me.